Joining us now to talk about CBC's new Twitter label is journalism professor at Toronto Metropolitan University, Janice Neil. Professor, Twitter defines government-funded media as an organization that has some kind of government involvement in editorial content. Is that fair to say about the CBC?
It's absolutely not fair to say that about CBC. Separate the funding from the editorial content. That's absolutely crucial. In countries where there is state media, the two are linked. It's paid by it, and the government or the government apparatus has some say in the editorial control. But the government does not have any control over the programming that you see, the news stories that are reported on, the slant that reporters, the angle that reporters chase. It has no more involvement than any other media that people consume, including yours.
Pierre Poilievre called the CBC government propaganda. How does that, in addition to its new label on Twitter, undermine the public broadcaster's credibility?
Well, it is an attempt to create this mantra that is being floated around for a long time. You keep saying something over and over and over, and people are going to start accepting it and believing it. Some people are anyway. I mean, I think most Canadians should be able to separate out the fact from the propaganda, separate out the fact from the politicking. That the leader is. He is, without a doubt, he is campaigning on this issue to defund the CBC, and he's certainly not the first to do that. This has been those kind of refrains have been around for a long time. Taxpayers pay for CBC to the tune of $1.2 billion a year, and which actually is less than it used to be. Advertisers also contribute to the CBC to make up the programming. There have been arguments that money could be spent elsewhere by the government could be allocating that money elsewhere. You can certainly think of lots of things, but certainly I believe that there is a very strong role for the public broadcaster in a civil society and in this country. This country is vast. There are communities that no longer have any local media whatsoever that are supported exclusively by advertisers. CBC obviously doesn't have a reporter in every single community in the country, but it has a mandate to be able to cover that, and ensuring that there's going to be a journalistic presence in places even when the business case for other media is disappearing.
And we know the CBC is hitting pause on Twitter. What should it do next, in your opinion? Should they fight this? Should they get off Twitter altogether? I
mean, the stakes are pretty high. I mean, to be labeled this way, to be government funding, first of all, it puts journalists at risk. In places in the world, and increasingly, closer to home, where the idea that state-funded reporters are what they're reporting is actually extremely risky. So it could be putting journalists at risk in that way. But I think more importantly, it obviously calls into credibility the editorial independence that CBC does enjoy. So I can imagine it's a very, very difficult decision that they are making right now.
Thanks so much for joining us, Professor.
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure.